Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, folks. It's the one and only V, the Gorilla Economist, coming to you live on this edition of Rogue News in the Morning with Strategic Life. Brought to you by the mad scientist himself, the man who is the legal eagle, the one and only John J. Singleton is here with us, folks, and he's going to be breaking down strategies you can do to, number one, divorce the state, get it out of your life, and number two, to win more privacy for yourself and to live a strategic, thoughtful, and intentful life, and stop being a lazy bum. Get off your ass and do something, and Singleton's going to show you how. Also going to cover various income-producing strategies that's available to you. And folks, if you need to get a hold of John J. Singleton, the man, the myth, the legend, in order for you to consult with him, to pick his brain, for him to understand your particular and unique situation, you can consult with him live right now in his live coaching. Just go to aceofcoins.com, aceofcoins.com, scroll to the bottom of the website and schedule a call with John J. Singleton and join aceofcoins.club. Your membership that's monthly gives you winning strategies, live content, and media exclusively for members of aceofcoins.club. And with that being said, John, welcome back, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate that. Pretty good, man.
Man, where do you want to begin, brother?
Well, I like that you mentioned the divorcing the state, which is one of my video series. It's the hottest thing right now.
It's on fire.
Men need help.
Yeah. It's like everybody that I talk to that's gone through the program, that has seen it, that has witnessed it, have literally their minds blown away because they've never thought of these such strategies. We often think that we're just hapless victims, and then whatever edicts that come from the state, whatever edicts are rolled out by a judge, that is it. It's the weather. Like we just have to accept it, and exactly, like we don't have a choice.
It's not the
but
weather.
John,
it's some dude in a robe that says he's going to do stuff to your money. You know,
that's all it is. It's a guy in a costume, man. It's a guy in a costume.
I've got so many great examples of this, but really what I show people in this divorce in the state is that you're just using the court to publish the dissolution of your marriage. You can do that yourself. All the judges there are forced to make sure that there's no abuse or, no allegations of abuse or neglect or imminent harm, and then make sure that that's what y'all really want to do. Because in some jurisdictions, the court says, hey, you guys got to do some mediation. Okay, that's normal. But you're not there to get liquidated. What the heck?
Exactly.
A petition gets filed, and then the next thing you see is a discovery questions about your assets. The only time you ever see that is post-judgment. If someone wins against you in a court for a debt collection, then they're allowed to do post-judgment discovery. Why do they start that day one with the divorce proceeding? That's not even part of the divorce proceeding. But people just say, oh, well, I that's okay because, my attorney said it's okay, and it happens on TV all the time, just like that. I lost everything in the divorce, right? You hear that all the time, right? Because you're stupid.
Exactly. Right.
I'm not saying that you're stupid, literally. I'm just saying you didn't know any better and you thought it was okay, and it's not. Here's an example. So whenever you go into a court for something, you have to tell the judge what you want. And if he can give it to you, then he has the authority. Like if someone owes you money, right, you can sue him for the debt. He can't make the person give you the property or give you his money, although he can help the plaintiff get a writ of execution on your wages. He can do that. So if you have wages, he can take them, right?
Right.
But he can't make you write a check to the plaintiff who won against you. He can't make you write a check. He can't make you sign a promissory note. He can't make you enter into a new agreement. But remember, this is a case where there were allegations of debt. Okay, we could talk about debt. But what happens in a petition for the dissolution of a marriage? You're asking for the court to declare something to exist or not exist. You're not asking for the collection of a debt. You're not even alleging the existence of a debt. You're not even alleging that there's a debtor. So what are we doing talking about collect information on your assets and your bank accounts and your property rights and all this stuff? Where's that coming from? So what I show people is, if you're in that situation, first we try to avoid it, because lots of times I've had cases where they were not cases, because my job is to make a no case. If I'm a lawyer, I'm trying to make a case so I can get paid, right? If you come to me, I'm going to try to not make a case so you can go on with your life. You don't need to know me. But lots of times I'll get the parties that are going to be maybe in new divorce here. I'll get them into what's called a post-nuptial agreement. as sort of like a divorce type proceeding that they can do themselves. They don't need the court to get involved. And then ironically, we can use the court to rubber stamp it and say, yep, that's what it is. And nobody gets to liquidate anybody. That's how it's supposed to be.
Right.
So sometimes I get the case after there's already damage is done, right? So you kind of have to undo it. But what I point to is that the petition for dissolution has no allegations of debt. And if there's no allegations of abuse or neglect, or if there are, we can undo them sometimes. But if they're not talking about debt, then we can't be talking about discovery of assets and property. And so this is where people get lost. They think they're programmed. They think it's okay. So what I'm doing is I have this whole video series and I teach people. I just showed you the other day. I don't know if you saw it, but I show you example cases and I do videos with all my clients. And then I teach people how to deal with the court. And we do things on the merits of the pleading. So there's rules of procedure. And we teach the judges that this is not what the divorce proceeding is intended for.
Right.
You don't get to use the police power of the state to change an arrangement you had already agreed to or benefits you were already receiving from your spouse. You don't get to use the police power to do that, right? You're going into the court to change an arrangement that you got into, that you're benefiting from. And you want to unilaterally change it. That'd be like if V and I had a contract, right? A partnership. And I said, hey, V, we should do this other thing in the contract. And he says, nah, it's not a good idea. Maybe we'll talk about it later. And so I just bring it to the court and I sue V and I say to the judge, V won't agree with me, Judge. Can you change the contract? He's going to say, get out of here. All right. Well, that's what divorces are doing right now. That's what the divorce proceedings are.
That's wild. Exactly correct, man. People don't even realize that, John. They don't even realize that at all.
Here's the scary part. They don't realize it. They think, okay, men think like this. Well, I just won't get married. Surprise. The jurisdiction of family court is not about whether or not you're married.
Correct.
It's about your residency. You can even not be living with the other party and still be in family court. All the other party has to allege is you're a resident somewhere. And if you're a resident in another county, that can be cured. You can be pulled into family court, even if you're not married. So don't think you're going to escape that unless you really have. This is a thing where, where if someone starts a fight with you, I mean, I'm a type of person that I'll just kind of avoid the fight. I don't want to get into a fight, physical confrontation with somebody. But if I have no choice, if I can't run away or something, or, I'm going to fight, you have to fight. I'm sorry, but this is what the nature of the beast, and it's worse than the IRS. If you guys hate the IRS, if you understood more about what family court's doing, you'll love the IRS.
Exactly.
It's not whether or not you have a marriage license.
Yeah, that is true. This is the reason why, like, I forgot who it was, man, but it was a UFC fighter who I forgot the name of the guy, but he was winning the UFC. Oh yes, Israel Adesanya. And all of a sudden his girlfriend tried to hit him up. His ex-girlfriend tried to hit him up for millions of dollars that he earned with the UFC, man.
It's such a cliche.
It's such a cliche.
See, that's why in a case like that, you write the contract with that in your mind. You write it so that the proceeds of such a thing, like a windfall, don't go to what be considered the marital community or your personal estate. You write it out of your estate, even if you're not married, because who knows what's going to happen in the future. But yeah, it's disgusting what's happening. The truth comes out, when you start making a lot of money. The woman says, "Oh, yeah, jackpot."
Exactly, man.
But anyways, I want to teach men about this, and I want to be their advocate for real. We're setting up an association. I just haven't formalized it yet with the terms and the benefits that we have. So one of the things we do is like with the people that invest in cryptos, and we can talk about that for a second. Sometimes we do estate planning, asset protection, but we do strategies in a way that legally avoids many of the taxes that your CPA thinks you should pay on cryptos. You'd be surprised. You might be even angry when you find out that, in the crypto world, you can almost avoid taxes the whole time. But anyway, so in a divorce in the state type scenario, we actually do some of that reorganization, post-judgment protections against post-judgment discovery. We do equity stripping. We reorganize your assets. And
what exactly is post-judgment
discovery? Means that I have already a judgment against you, and now the court says I can discover your assets, and then I can use the police power to go take them. I just can't make you give them to me, but I can take them. That's what post-judgment discovery is.
And
So
how do you put a sock in something like that?
okay, so the common denominator is that you have stuff. So you still want to use stuff. You just don't have to have stuff like your house or equity, even for that matter, or cash flow. So let's say you have some cash flow, 10 grand a month, right? Let's say you got 10 grand a month and you're just getting it. It's in your name. Well, we don't know what kind of the future is going to bring. We don't know what kind of claims people are going to make, craziness they're going to do. So we transfer that cash flow into a company in which you're the owner. That alone does not protect you. So then what we do is we change the property rights, and I'm not going to go into the detail on the show here, but we do change the property rights so that the property, the cash flow, is no longer in your estate. That means even if you filed bankruptcy, nobody can reach into that money.
Nice.
Yeah, that means that'll if you can beat the IRS in bankruptcy court, then you can certainly beat the ex who tries to reach in there with a divorce proceeding.
You beat anybody at that point.
Yeah, and so people, they don't know any better, so they think, I'll just go offshore. It doesn't work that way because you'll be defeated by the rules of civil procedure. Your attorney will never tell you this. So you don't need to go offshore. All you simply do is change the property rights. It's kind of like this, V. If I'm standing on the train tracks and I hear the whistle blowing and I look around and I go, oh, there's a train coming. Well, I'm not going to like brace myself. I'm going to just get off the tracks. And that's what we do with people. We make it to where you don't have any.
I love that.
But you can still write a check and spend stuff, you know. So, and it would survive the test of discovery ordered by the court. That's what we do.
That's brilliant, man.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
So we do that in cryptos, and we also do that ironically for the divorce cases. They make it bulletproof. You know, it's like the good old fashioned the bulletproof, you know, concept.
Right. The bulletproof banking.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, the crypto thing. I mean, if you mentioned that too. I mean, it's such a no-brainer. I know I say that, but clients get, you know, they get me on the phone. Can you talk to my CPA, please? And I go, okay, fine. So we get the CPA on the phone. You know, I hate to coach these guys and I hate to give them like trade secrets and stuff, but my clients ask me, so I'm like, fine, let's make it a private call. So I'm going to educate the CPA. So first they start with, how can this be? You know. So I asked them a couple of questions, and within a few minutes, 15 minutes, they're like, yeah, okay, I see. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. But yet they're still never going to advise their clients of what I just said. And here's how it works. With cryptos, we use cash basis accounting. It's very simple. You don't have to change what you're doing. Just don't do something new like accrual-based accounting. I'm going to stop you from doing that. We're going to use cash basis accounting. I'm going to change the property rights, and I'm going to show you how to move the profits around so they're not realized gains, and do it legally.
Right.
And not pay the tax on it because there is no tax on it. And I've got so many videos on that. But anyway, so we deal with that too. We have a whole section on using LLCs and the crypto tax and all that matter. There is no crypto tax, but I use that word because people understand what that means.
Right.
You know, the one thing people miss out on, though, we talk about all this time, how to avoid the liabilities, but this is what we're going to talk about, you know, we were talking about earlier. What do you do then? Now that you've succeeded at avoiding the liabilities and you can manage it, you can get a bird's eye view and say, okay, well, I'm pretty much judgment proof, I guess, collection proof, as it were. Then what? Sure. Now that you are, let's take this structure out for a run. Let's make some money. What do we do? Let's look around. I saw a really nice, shiny new dry cleaners in my neighborhood the other day. I might want to buy it. There's a fashion design shop. It's real small. That looks like it's going out of business. Maybe I might want to buy it or lease it out and do something with it. Right. That's right. When I drive by, drive by in my neighborhood, I look around. But what I wanted to share with V and y'all today is I'm thinking, you see the Amazon delivery guy and how Amazon is using the post office on Sunday to deliver packages.
On Sundays.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Well,
a private company.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Ben Franklin would probably think it's a good idea. You know,
yeah,
I mean, he's the one that started the postal service. So I'm thinking, what's the future? Because it ain't the guy that's driving his car with my package in the front seat that's delivering it to me. That's new, but that's not the future. That's temporary. You know why it's temporary? Because that guy, he doesn't know it yet, but he's setting up the distribution channel for the delivery of goods that's going to be replaced with technology, and that technology is going to be drone technology, drone systems.
Right.
So there are companies right now that are doing this. So it's just like any like taxi company, right? So you have a taxi company, it uses technology, right? The cars. If you don't have a car, you can't drive a taxi. You can't work that way. You can't use a rickshaw. It's got to be a car, right? So with the technology, then it's a matter of finding your market. What market would prefer to deliver its goods quickly and safely, in a fuel efficient way, and this sort of thing. And everybody would, right? So it's a marketing job. So I'm thinking, what can I do without reinventing the wheel? That's why I like to think, how are people already making money? So I found a company that's already making money doing this. I don't know if it's using its own technology. I think it's using other companies' technology. There's a supply chain, is what I'm saying. And the company itself already has the testing. It's already got customers and delivery, and the technology works. So my thinking is, I want my own market. I want to sell that to a city. I want to own DoorDash for like the city of Orlando, figuratively.
Yes. Right.
So I'm thinking, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So should I tell them what I did? Do we tell them?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm thinking, I'll
just little nuggets.
All right. So I find the business that's doing this, and they're doing it in Texas, in a city in Texas. I can't remember. And I take the website, I look over the website, and it's just kind of a sales website, not too much detail, but that's okay. So I go to, again, the artificial intelligence, Chat GPT. This is why we're doing this call, guys. You can do this. So I go to Chat GPT and I have this conversation. I say, hey, if I give you a URL, can you look over all the different pages on the website and kind of get an understanding of how that business is operating? And of course, AI said, yeah, sure. And then I said, and once you've done that, could you put together somewhat of a business plan that describes how that business is making money? Where you've got your business, the executive summary and all the, the product and the marketing and all this stuff, right? So I got kind of like a shell looking thing. It wasn't really good because the website wasn't very good. So I had to ask the Chat GPT more questions. Hey, what would be the cost of doing this? And it got that information. Now, I'm not sure if it got the information from pages on the website that I can't see. I'm thinking it did. So I'm thinking that the Chat GPT is getting information that I can't see. You know how web pages, sometimes you have them on their site, but nobody can see them? Yeah. So anyways, it's out there. So I asked it more specific questions, and to a point where it came up with a bunch of numbers saying, oh, okay, for this amount of money here, you do this, this is where you get your funding from. Now, the cool thing I found is that even the Chat GPT said you're going to get your funding from the customer. Yeah. So the customer is going to pay a setup fee and so forth and so on. It goes from there. And then the customer can offer that service to his customer seamlessly. So his customer doesn't see that like the pizza is costing more. It just is the cost of the pizza, right? And maybe there's a tip or something, whatever. Or some businesses will actually charge money for delivery, or they'll do a partial charge. They still want to be competitive. So sometimes they can't make it too costly if they're using a new service, right? So anyways, I asked it based on those numbers, and those numbers were real because I went and checked. So then I asked it to create a marketing plan. How would I, go out and solicit this to who would be my customer? And it went and told me. It told me. So this is the kind of information you would get in the old days. I say like 2 years ago, you would get this information by calling up the business and or making an offer, a real offer, and then doing your due diligence. And then you would get that information possibly from the business owner in a conversation if you're lucky. And in many cases, you're not going to get too much regarding trade secrets, but you can reverse engineer, is what I'm showing you. Is you can reverse engineer, possibly come close to what the business plan would look like for that particular business that's running right now through that website.
Wow.
It's a powerful tool. You think about it. Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
So I don't know if that's your thing, drones. It's mine. 3D printing also. We haven't talked too much about that, but I like
Let's talk about 3D printing. I think 3D printing is very untapped. Very untapped.
It's very what?
Untapped in terms of people not really understanding the full potentiality of it, man, in a large scale.
Yeah. No, I
You
think
know.
that there's with 3D printing, you've got huge demographics, huge niche markets. Okay, with drones, I don't know, maybe, but with
Hmm.
3D printing, you have huge niche markets, which you could do that also. You could run a test and ask questions and have a conversation with AI and get yourself a working plan. But like we just talk about this, people need things, right? People
Yeah.
need like plastic things. You can print those things. People need metal parts. You can actually fabricate metal parts with a 3D printer, and you don't
Sure.
have to own the printer.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Shapeways is a great example of that. Shapeways.com is a great example of 3D printing. So those two things, I mean, drones and 3D printing, you can even make a drone with 3D printing.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah.
So really, guys, I mean, there's no excuse not to have a gig, a side gig, right? A side hustle, like VJ
Hmm.
says, when you have all this technology right in your face and you've got your mobile phone there and you're probably using it for stupid stuff, you know,
Right.
you're
Right.
probably downloading apps for everything so you get coupons and benefits. It's just stupid stuff. You're not using it to make money, and you can certainly do that.
And that's what people don't realize, man. It's never lack of resources, like we always say, John. It's always a lack of resourcefulness.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you see as another potentiality that people are not paying attention to, or laws or regulations that people could take advantage of?
Hmm. I don't know how they take advantage of things. I mean, you see
Hmm.
laws and regulations. I mean, I like to do things that are outside that might
Sorry.
affect.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Excuse me. That's
Oh
what I
yeah.
meant.
Well, I mean, okay,
Yeah.
so you guys know this trend anyways. It's leader banking system. It's being used for police surveillance, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
okay, so everybody's afraid of KYC, know your customer type questions. I'll just tell
Sure.
you, you're not going to avoid that today, although you can come up with, maybe people are going to come up with more useful ways of using money that don't require the banking system. Maybe we're going to be using cryptos, and maybe your network of friends are going to do that or have their own coin or something. Maybe that's the future. But when it comes to KYC, that is not a problem. I don't like it, but it presumes that you're a suspect of some kind. And if you actually end up being a suspect of some kind, you've already given up all your evidence.
Sure.
It's really not right. I mean, and it's not intended for national security interests. They're lying with all that stuff, but that's what's going on. So I guess I would just say, regarding this sorts of things in the future, you're going to see more of it. And it's almost like you you don't have a privacy right when using your own money. And yeah, okay, you forced me to use the bank's currency. Okay, you forced me to do that, but that doesn't mean I give up my privacy rights. And if I
Hmm.
want to commit a crime, okay, I shouldn't do that. But if I want to commit a crime, I'll try to commit the crime. And you guys have to use traditional police methods to catch me.
Yeah.
I can't be required to give up evidence that could be used against me in a moment, just in
Hmm.
case I might want to commit a crime. So, anyways, this is what's going on. But I wouldn't be afraid of KYC. It's about moving your money around, okay, and getting the bank to interfere with that. That's the
Right.
problem.
Right. Exactly. Very well
So you
said.
avoid that by not using the banks. And I believe that's becoming easier. I think at some point, I mean, imagine like this. If you go to China, from what I understand, you can't access YouTube. Is that right?
I believe so. Yes, correct. They have their own
That's if you're
firewall up there.
all right. So that's like if you're just acting like a stupid consumer. Like here, I can't use YouTube, so I won't. But if,
Yeah.
if I'm there, I'm going to call a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy that's going to say, YouTube, of course, here you go. Click, click, click. And he's going to show me how to get on the dark web, and I'm going to get on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone's got a
You're gonna have
buried
your own
site on the
router.
dark web. Yeah.
Hmm.
Whatever. Not that YouTube is the thing. I'm just saying as an example. So uh, we're going to be looking at a situation where maybe we're going to have to give up our same information that we do for a bank account to get on the internet.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
going to complain then? When do people finally decide to complain? When do people finally decide to come up with an alternative? Are they just going to take it? You're just going to keep on accepting this?
Hmm.
I don't care who's in office. I like the current, president elect. I'm glad they got him, but he ain't going to be there forever, and it doesn't matter anyways because he's for the same banking system that we have anyways. Nothing's going to change there. So we're going to have to change. And
Yes.
when do we make that decision? You guys going to keep complaining all the time?
No, we got to get active.
You got to do something. Use some technology. We have technology. You don't have to reinvent anything else. You just have to start using it.
Correct. Exactly right, man. Exactly right. Very well said, John.
No.
Anything else that's on your radar that's really putting in the forefront for you?
I'm always looking at privacy things.
Yeah, let's talk about privacy, John.
Privacy, money, the
Mm-hmm.
use of my money and all that sort of thing. But as far
Mm-hmm.
as like what legislation, technology.
Yeah, let's talk about technology.
Keep in mind the technology that you have access to right now is kind of old. That's why we're allowed to use it. Much of it is military technology anyways. Even the microwave is military technology. So is cryptography. Anything that uses cryptography or the internet is military. Your phone.
Right.
That's why, and cryptos, by the way, cryptos are also considered a munition, military munition. So that's why you have the banks in your face. If you guys wondered why now, it's because you're being allowed to use military technology. What do you think the global positioning satellite system is? Clinton allowed it. Clinton brought it into private use in the 90s.
Correct.
In 1992. That's by our military. That was developed and used for the use of our military, and it's still used by our military and the banks and the government. But now we're allowed to use certain bandwidth out of it. That's why the government is in your face with all this. They're not telling you this though. So if you understand this part, you may be able to see new trends. V and I was looking for new trends. You're asking me for new trends. I'm just saying it's more of the same. And just know that the technology that you're using right now is old. There's better technology. I saw the other day, yesterday, I was watching a video where these companies in China, they have these androids. They look like people. They're pretty good. And one of it looks like the DARPA technology. You know the dog? What was it called? The dog that's...
oh my God, I forgot what the hell it's called.
This dog is pretty good. I mean, it's pretty agile. But China has this technology. So either China reverse engineered it or it wasn't U.S. technology in the first place because DARPA is a military contractor. So if China has it or if you see it, you know it's old. Just like the cyborg, cybernetic, android type creatures you see they're building right now. You see them on YouTube and all this. That's old technology. It makes you wonder what's coming. And the trends, like technology, if you're talking about that, think about it like this. It just so happens that the geographic region that we know as China, just as a great example, India is another example, but other Asian countries, another example. Let's just use China. So China just happens to have a population that's about 3.6 times bigger than the United States. What does that do to the price of labor?
It's gonna lower it, right?
It drives it down.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a country, just as it turns out, that the price of labor just happens to be dramatically lower than anywhere in the world. So what's going to happen with manufacturing? It's going to have to go to that area. When manufacturing gets big enough, it's going to have to go to that area, which has been happening since at least the 80s in large numbers, okay? All right, what happens when you have a labor force where the labor costs go down even further or are competitive with China's, but the labor force is not dependent upon your population. It's dependent upon your acquisition of technology, like automated systems, expert systems, and mechanical systems that can be integrated with AI and make products that people are now making.
Right.
Now you get a country that's a nothing country, like there's I'll think of it in a minute. Near India, it's I'll think of it in a minute. But anyways, there's countries that have no natural resources. They're dependent on everybody in the world for their resources. Imagine a country like that, that's a poor country, that somehow somebody placed this technology because the country's poor. So you got to place the technology there and make that country this new manufacturing mecca that competes with other countries like China. Now a country can compete with China if it has this technology. Is it any wonder you see these billionaires fighting over this AI and technology? Now let's take another idea here. Not only can a country compete with China in 10 years, possibly, or 5 countries for that matter, but it could compete with the world's most powerful militaries. Ooh, in a hot war. So this technology is extremely vital This is an understanding you should have if you're going to ask the question, what's next? The trends that you see now are going to continue. Don't think that anyone you put in office, political office, is going to change anything, because they're not the decision maker. It's the money interests of the world.
Right.
All we can do is ride the wave. Just be smart.
Exactly. John, how can people get a hold of you, man?
The best way is at aceofcoins.com. If you go there, you can book a time with me on my calendar. There's an email address too. I can give out my email address too. It's hard to.
Go ahead and give it out. Is it a Singleton Press? Is that the one?
Yes, Singleton.
I'll put it right here in the chat.
At protonmail.com. Yeah. You guys can shoot me an email. I love to talk to people. I'm a sucker for it, man. If you call me on Sunday, my clients will tell you. If I see the phone ring, I just think to myself, can I answer it with my wife not complaining? If I can, I will. You know?
So. Exactly. Very well said. John, thank you so much for joining us. And folks, again, if you want to get a hold of him, go to aceofcoins.com and join the subscription site where you get winning strategies, winning ideas right there over at aceofcoins.club. And with that being said, we're over and out. Thank you all for listening in.